what is stay in the game feature? Thank you for asking. Stay in the game feature is, I will say that it was PokerStars that quietly launched it. I didn't see a ton of news about it. I haven't seen any negative feedback. It's watch me get all the negative feedback in the world. So let's say for example that right here I've got King Queen, right? And I go ahead and I'm in a cash game and I get it all in. And I run into Ace King. So sad. I'm so sad. How bad do I want a do-over? I want a do-over bad, right? I wish that never happened, and here I am in this awful spot. So what it is let's say I'm all in for I don't know, $10, right? And he calls, and I have, call it 30% equity. I can take my 30% equity and take my 35% equity or whatever that number is, and take my $35 and stay at the table with my $35 instead of losing all of it or winning all of it, right? And I can do that on any time that I want. Will there be rake on that? The pot will be raked because the pot was the pot, and it's to give up the equity. Is basically I'm gonna buy your equity at a small profit, right? So let's say it's if you're in for $10, I don't know exactly what the numbers is, but its numbers are, but it's small, right? So maybe you would have, in the long run, you'd have 38% equity, and I'm giving you $37, right? So I'm making $1 on it, but the variance is going to be massive. So I'm gonna bankroll the variance, and you can choose to do it or not. Like, see in the 6-8, right? I would have bought my equity, right? So super cheap against two people. I would have had a very small amount of equity, and I would have got my whatever that number of chips are. Then when I win the pot, I get the number of chips that I bought out, right? Is I take that, I'm taking that risk, right? So I believe it's good for poker in that it'll keep new players in the game, where the winning player will keep his money, right? He wins the pot and he wins, right? And the new player will stay in it'll extend their bankroll, right? Rather than having to redeposit, right? We'll make a good page explaining it, for sure. But that's basically what it is if you were to, let's say you were to be in the same situation, 1,000 times. Over that 1,000 times, you would have, your equity was $39 in that same thing, in that same situation. You sold your equity to get $38 every single time, right? But you didn't have to survive the variance. For good winning rigs, they won't actually use it, but for if you make a horrible mistake, right? You're like, oh God, why did I do that? And whatever your bankroll can. Thank you for the follow. I didn't see who it was. Is whatever your bankroll will sustain, right? A lot of times I'll tell you what. Let's say you get it in aces versus sixes, right? And you're playing a couple of stakes higher than you should be. You're playing a couple of stakes higher than you want to be. Do you want to go ahead and take your, let's say you're a 90% favorite. Do you want to take your 88% win right now? Or do you want to take the $88 that you're all in for 100? Want to take your $88 and I'll take the gamble, even though you're ahead? or do you want to so the times they suck out, you don't lose it? So if you're an 80% favorite, you take the 79, let it run out. If you lose, you don't lose it. You take your win. I bankroll it, right? So for those of you who never fade a river, go ahead. Never have to fade another river, right? It's definitely if you feel like if you feel like the RNG's rigged or that you're not running well right now, you can take the equity, right? No problem. Right? I know everything's on the up and up, and everything's fair, and everything is what it should be. So we take the equity, and yeah, it'll definitely be it'll be high variance for us, but if it's good overall for the game, and we can make a buck at it, great. I'm still trying to find the downside, right? And it's not an on-off thing. It's something that you can do or not do whenever you want, right? Hand by hand. So it's definitely like a gut feeling kind of thing, right? However you're feeling today. So for those of you who are afraid of cash games, who stay away from cash games because of, for whatever reason, the variance is too high, something like that, where you can get back into cash games with a cushion, a safety net, I guess, right? So that you don't. It'll lower your variance, raise my variance, but the long term is an earner for me. Hi, I read in the chat about insurance and cash games. Not just make a run it twice feature. This will help people in cash games if they feel they're just getting unlucky in that one hand. Because run it twice, I will add run it twice, but run it twice is optional, and both parties have to agree, and it changes the game, right? If I know that you're going to run it twice, or you have run it twice, then I can play more aggressive and I can change the dynamics of the game. If you buy the equity from the house, it really doesn't make a difference to me as another player, and I don't want to. I definitely don't want to change the game, right? Because we like the game, right? And those of you who and again, it'll be what I see as a fair price. I think it will be good. But like I said, the run it twice changes the game. That's why it's not what we're looking for.